Hello, 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 hello. Do you remember Konami, back in the days when Konami actually made games? Well, I certainly do, and this is one such game. It's a bit of an odd one, really, because it's called Gungage. It is about a bunch of anime-style characters doing clumsy stuff with a primitive control setup from the It's an action-packed game about these colorful anime characters and an excuse plot. Where all what you're doing is shooting things and collecting power-ups while blasting enemies. Each character has their own unique thing they can do. But the gameplay boils pretty much down to lock on, dodge, and destroy. So it's a bit like Gunstar Heroes, something along the line of that. Really, in that regard, it is essentially a very short, sweet, and action-packed game with an excuse plot that is thinner than that is thinner than the waist of this girl. What it is, though, is a decently designed action game that does exactly everything it needs to do, and it does it well. And naturally, since it's an arcade game, it has some unfortunate jumping sequences and a lot of pickups that doesn't really carry over. You have like a health up and stuff, but the health up would only last until you complete the game. It's very easy to get overwhelmed if you don't pay attention. And the music is fairly okay, and for a PlayStation game, the graphics are practically stellar. With a lot of unique enemies and splendid weapon feedback, even if turning is a bit on the slow side. Just a bit. So, each character has extra lives, and you want to collect 100 stuff, you will get another one. And when you die, you will respawn at the beginning of the level or at the checkpoint. Not that the game ever tells you where there is a checkpoint. You sort of stumble upon them. Naturally, this character begins on one of the more difficult level. It's a train level. So there is in total 4 unique characters with different special abilities and small changes to the weaponry. Each have to be unlocked in very specific ways. For example, this character has to be unlocked by looking at a wanted poster you will randomly find on the map. While the second character, you will find information on a computer you didn't even know you could click on. And the fourth one, you have to click on like a cryopod. Essentially, the plot boils down to evil moon kingdom from another dimension and an empire using it to get power. To siphon its power is being controlled by an evil entity from another dimension. And mutants. And apparently I'm playing as a rebel, because you know that's what you do. This must be the beast. Also, naturally, each level is followed by a boss and some very clumsy platforming if you don't pay attention. And yes, it's a very short experience. And it's quite clear that I had a lot of fun with it and experimented with art directions and technology and 3D models. One thing Konami never does anymore these days, you know? Experiment. Try out new stuff and having a great old time. Well, if there's one thing Japanese developers are really good at, is to make weird, wacky, janky experiences. With a lot of things blowing up and a lot of shit to be shot. And foes to be slaughtered. And secrets to be shared. Unfortunately, there really is only, other than the characters, there's only one unlock. And that is collecting 100 flowers hidden in clever places, which unlocks infinite special. Ribcage mons.
Tesla drive charged.
Yeah. Naturally, since each character is, like for example, here was a flower, but it got picked up. Each so in the terrain, they're mostly hidden in many clever ways. Despite the lock-on, it is possible to aim manually to some degree and lock onto specific parts. The lock-on feature is the biggest strength and weakness of this whole experience. And what I mean with random, how it works, right? Here is a bench and an ashtray for no apparent reason, in the middle of this long-ass corridor. Why? Sure, why not? It's also filled with these weird tanks that shoot their prongs at you and try to run you over. But we don't talk about those. Essentially, it is a fairly unique and interesting experience, all things put together, that was apparently only released in Europe. That's what I mean with unlocking character, right? First, there's a computer triangle here to unlock a door, while on the other hand, this one there was a list of names that somehow unlocked the rebel leader. It is a different playable character who is a man who shoots around, who has 4 different weapons and some really snazzy specials, followed by a scrawny lab boy with some more Psy-ish like power. A major weakness of this experience is that each character has a certain modification to the levels, and one of them is the fact that there's slight differences here and there, and not everywhere is signposted really well. In fact, this character Steyr, Harkebus, is the only character that has a radar that shows enemies and that actually shows enemies and pickups. Some enemies are so painfully obvious it hurts, yet you can still trigger them fairly easily. The experience itself also comes with 3 flavors of difficulty, which increases how much damage things do, how much damage bosses take, and which is well and all, but technically the game isn't that hard. However, it may not look so hard, but it is deceptively tricky and loves to throw curveballs at you. For example, now I have unlocked a new the last character. Oh yeah, and spoilers. But then again, there isn't much to spoil here. I consider this more of a more informal play of the game, and a more like random rambling than anything else. Give me your meat. This character is also the one with the most over the top and absurd dodge. As yes, each character can do a dodge move. This one does a side catwheel flip. For no apparent reason. Naturally, how much an enemy can take in damage is entirely independent of the entirely dependent on difficulty level, it seems. And yes, it is also, and sometimes you'd have no issues throwing a couple of dick moves at the player. Ironically enough, I would say one of the biggest issue is that there isn't that there is a bit the areas are kind of a bit barren really and devoid of enemies. Not devoid per se, but they are a bit. They are a bit what you should say void. It's also full of well, it's it's also a bit full of itself when it comes to certain aspects. Some developer thought they were very clever hiding a flower in here, for example. So you need to have the boss run it through. Another case of being a bit too clever for their own good. There is one flower that can only be reached on hard mode on the last level, forcing the player to actually play all the levels to get all the difficulties and the levels in order to unlock the final thing. And here is a gunship with a poster on it. Her special ability is a lock-on laser. A mirror that can reflect stuff. And a AoE attack that is practically pointless to use. Oh, and for example, here is a flower I did not pick up. Well, I have now. Well, it should be one more for the collection. Around the levels, it is possible to find upgrades that increases, for example, the limit of these of the special. In this case, from 99 to 130 and beyond. But has a big but unlike hers, and that is the simple fact that these power-ups will only last one playthrough. Once you are have completed the game or exited, they do not exist anymore. Which is a blooming shame, really, because are cases where that would be fun to see how far it can go instead of some arbitrary limit set by the developer. Because right now my limit is 119. And that is not nearly enough. Naturally, once you have unlocked all of the flowers, you have already done everything that's worth it and completed the game. You have done all there is to be done. And that brings it, so essentially it is a completionist bonus more than anything else. Naturally, some boss fights actually some of them actually has two places to enter. In this case, I went through the roof, or rather took the elevator up. So, what I do believe I just had a fight against enemy. It's power core or whatever it's called. Yes, I blew up their base. And now I'm cleaning out a communication tower. Some enemies are more vocal about their demise than others.
Tesla drive charged.
And yes, extra lives are also lost when you win. So the only thing that stays permanent is the flowers and the characters.
Tesla drive charged.
I can't complain too much about that. Well, I can, but that would be pointless. And also a bit rude, really. For here, for some reason, I'm fighting murder mosquitoes.
Tesla drive charged.
Yes, molested by murder mosquitoes. So noted, there's also a little bit of a puzzle element to it all. For example, once that worm caterpillar thingy moved, this place opened up, for example, right?
Tesla drive charged.
Which brings bonus stats and a flower. It also caused the thing to crash into the tower, turning it into a stepping stone towards progress. Also probably notice that the characters moves a bit slow, and the jumping can be a bit clunky because the character will also stop at edges automatically for the most part. No, with any other character, there would be 3 boxes, and it would be possible to jump up to the beam and find a secret. However, that's not the case with this character. So there are minor changes between each level. Oh, and here is a millipede waifu thingy. It's a woman's torso on top of a bug body, for no apparent reason. It's essentially an arcade game through and through. Where the theme of the day is the fight where interdimensional alien creatures working for an evil empire. Said creatures may or may not be sentient. However, they are vicious, they are violent, and they look at me in weird ways. Which means they have to die. For some reason, one of these things is a bug. And yeah, when I said that this was a review, I suppose it is would be a lie by omission. It's a playthrough more than anything else. For some reason, the giant moth has a flamethrower, and a tornado, and a ramjet. Also evil, also dangerous spores. It's not that dangerous, but can be a handful if you're not prepared. And naturally, there's a flower in the corner. Yes, in order to yes, that's a cactus. When it comes to a level that exemplifies one real dickish thing about this whole experience, it has to be this one. Over here is a flower. That means you have to jump. The one thing you do not want to do. Or this flower, for example, right? It's right there. You know you want it. And it's most likely gonna take all your extra lives in order to get it.
Tesla drive charged. Tesla drive charged. Tesla drive charged.
And speaking of secrets, for example, if we were to go past these blocks here that has physics, there is a seesaw with physics leading to power-ups on top of there. And a flower, naturally. However, reaching it requires jumping. The one thing I do not want to do at all, if possible. The experience is simply just not. It has a lot of. It really needs some polish. However, that will never happen. It will never have a re-release, and it will never have a remake, a remaster, or any such thing. It's a game that will only exist on the PlayStation 1. Also on the PC, if you're clever enough to use an emulator. At this day and age, there's almost no excuse not to emulate somehow.
Tesla drive charged. Tesla drive charged.
Speaking of jumping, it is totally possible. To do is just not I would just not recommend it most of the time. It's not a bad experience, but like a great many Asian games, it's just a bit jank. It's a bit jank, it's a bit primitive, and it could use a lot of polish. However, it's oddly fun despite this.
Tesla drive charged.
For example, here is a beautifully modeled temple, but that's just it, it's just a temple. No reason for it to be there. And here is a boss fight made of two devilish demon dogs. I correct my statement. Is one demon dog. Where they come from and what they're doing here is anyone's question. However, they are still bad little doggos, and doggos that bite humans gets put down. Naturally, it is experience itself is... Well, it is what it is. It's a stylish, action-packed game about shooting mecha-looking people with the anime-looking people.
Tesla drive charged.
While busting bugs and dealing with unfinished content. 'Cause I'm pretty sure this armored car does absolutely nothing.
Tesla drive charged.
It's simply a static set piece to step on. Some enemies just sort of exist in one spot and will never be seen or heard from again and can be gleefully ignored.
Life recovered.
Also, to sell the point, in order to unlock this character,
Tesla drive charged.
there is her poster is on the back here. And being the cheeky action girl she is, she claims it's too low. Naturally, wouldn't you have it any, would you have it any other way? There is no timer ever, so you can take it as slow and as fast as you want, as you're capable of. And in this case, I'm probably being a bit too methodical about this. Speaking of cleverly hidden stuff, right? Up here there is a box. If you shoot that box, this box falls down. And that is a special up. It increases the limit, giving me more special to spam at the boss.
Tesla drive
Which is pretty much the only place you generally want to use this special. Is that right, you weird sand creature? Yes, let's murder our way through to the another boss. This time, a giant spider. So the Empire uses mechs and mechanical stuff, while it is dark full moon flower. Seems to be content just using organic creatures from out of this world, wherever this world is. Naturally, some bosses are less impressive than other ones. And explode for no foreseeable for no no concernable reason. Naturally, one of the hardest hidden flowers, ironically, is the one in the desert. Yes, there is a flower hidden here. It's hidden really well. As you can see, there's some... And yes, this is a random battle against tanks. With one little secret hidden somewhere in here. And a couple of planes for some reason as well.
Tesla drive charged.
I know there's a flower here. I just don't know which direction. In case you have not noticed, this is a featureless desert. With a snazzy soundtrack and yeah, a night vision on this particular character. Oh, my friend found the flower back in the day. I have absolutely no idea. He somehow did. But the level itself ends the moment all the tanks die. Despite there being 3 planes hidden, 3 aircraft hidden somewhere on this level. If you don't get run over, it is a good supply place. Wait, are those vehicles taken from Terminator? See, here is the hard flower. In essence, the whole thing is a fun experience with some neat visual effects, some neat enemies. In a nonsensical setting, filled with monster morons and things to murder.
Life increased.
For example, here there is this door open with a really fancy effect. For no, just because somebody decided, hell, why not? Or here, and here there are some irritating towers hanging on the wall. Being annoying while standing tall. Naturally, it is followed by a slow-moving
Tesla drive charged.
slow-moving elevator sequence. And you can guess where is a flower? Oh yes, behind a pillar. Naturally, at least a third of all enemies can be ignored.
Tesla drive charged.
It wasn't me with special effects, it's like this random door going, ladder going, Naturally, this whole experience leads to a final boss confrontation. Confrontation. So the first step of this annoying little troglodyte is to disarm him. Her, it, them. To disarm her. That has mostly to do with irritating arm beams of. Naturally, lock-on is a bit of a moody one. Naturally, taking out its arms open up another can of worms. Yeah. Draw this. And general physics acuity, right? Seeing may or may not. This boss is a dick to do it. It is the final boss after all, but still. The preemptive
Continue. 10, 9.
yeah, the boss ability to preemptively having preemptive strike missiles is an interesting one to say the least. Movement based one. And yes, the flames are about as pain to dodge as you can possibly imagine. Yeah, the Nova actually does hit that high, despite the fact of being a circular one. So yeah, Gungage is a fun, simple game that does a lot of things well, and is including being fairly unknown. And once the game is done, each character has a short, sweet little outro. And in her case, it is some snow, a flower, and a puppy. And yeah. Of course, it's always followed by a high score. Based on arbitrary all the stuff in the game.
Game over.
Followed by unceremoniously game over screen. Dun dun dun.